Welcome to Team Perry's Step Out of Line podcast, featuring co-hosts Perry and Lori Finkelstein. Together, they explore, meet, and share inspirational stories with guests who have made a positive impact in today's world. This podcast resonates with our hope to make this world a better place one step at a time through love, acceptance, and uplifting conversations.
First, I was in human resources for a long time as a manager and a director. I was at Walt Disney World for 10 years and then also worked in HR in PR firms. So, in that capacity, you're always representing the company, of course, that is a goal that you have. But I found it really important to also represent the individuals. So, for instance, when I was at Disney, this was before my own daughter, as you may or may not know, has a disability. At this point, when I was at Disney, there were accommodations that could be made for individuals with disabilities to work in front facing areas. Now, when I was there, this was rather new, making these accommodations. It was a while ago. So, it wasn't as spread out as it is now throughout the Disney organization, where it is a top priority. But I took it upon myself to work with the Imagineers. If I had someone that I was hiring, I was a recruiter before I was in HR. So if I was hiring someone that was fully capable of doing the job, but they had a disability such as hard of hearing or deaf, but they really wanted to work front of house, I would work with that individual and with Imagineering to get that opportunity for that individuals. So it was something that I really had to take that on and say, I want to do this. This is really important. This person wants to work at Disney. Let's make it happen. And it was new. And I had to go through OSHA and I had to go through employee relations and I had to go through the unions and so forth. But it then became more and more and more of a thing where there were more and more opportunities where I was able to do that. That was like the first time really that I felt it was important. Someone wanted a job, they had the ability to do the job. Let's make it happen. Now, 9 years ago, my daughter, who has worked in film and has many credits, and she worked as a production assistant, she worked as an actress, she worked locations, suddenly became very ill. She was diagnosed with a very rare brain cancer and she lost a good portion of her vision. So that's when she really had to pivot, and she was ill for a long time. She's now legally blind. She could no longer do the jobs that were so easy to her. And this was when she was 23. She had like 70 credits at this point, and the jobs that were easy to her, she was fast tracking to be an assistant director. She was working towards that goal. She could no longer do that. And that's when we decided, I stepped away from HR, from a very comfy career, and said, let's start this casting agency. Let's make it work where we become accessibility coordinators. And we also give opportunities for actors with disabilities to work in that space, to get the jobs. And we really just took this chance to make it happen. It's just the best work. It's so rewarding. It's rewarding for my daughter. It's a real win for her. Talk about someone that steps out of line. It's not known that she has a disability when she's making these accommodations. So she'll go through a shooting schedule. She'll make it all work. She'll, work with the actor, she'll work with the production, and then she'll be on set. And that's when first time that they realize that she is also disabled, because they see the white cane, and it's realized that she's also someone that has a disability. So that's such a win to do the job, to get it done, and to have this production put full faith in you. Sometimes they know, sometimes they don't. And to show up on set and be welcome, and have those individuals really want to work with you. So we've had to have some times where we are still working hard. Zoe is, and I am as well, on working with Accessoride here in the city. Zoe has been on ABC7 talking about this. She was interviewed there. What very often happens is accessibility is not reliable to get you on time to where you need to go. The film industry doesn't wait. So, if they want you on set at a certain time, you better be on set at that time. Accessoride should be something that is available and reliable to get you there on time. And that hasn't been the case for Zoe, for anybody that I've spoken with. It's not something that we've been able to rely on, and it's something that we continue to push forward, hoping to make a difference in this space. Just last week, she was coming here. She had to come here for an acting class. She lives in Staten Island. I live in the city. She was coming to my place first, and she was on Accessoride for 2.5 hours.
Been there and done that.
Yeah. This is something that we're adamant to see what can be done about this, to work on this, because there are plenty of disabled individuals in the city. There are plenty of jobs in the city, and I know how important it is, especially when you have a disability, to make that good impression on your employer and on your job, and to look your best. And if Accessoride is the holdup to make that good impression, that's a problem. It's a big problem. So that's something that we're really trying to fix. We're hoping that we make some strides. Zoe's spoken to the mayor's office for people with disabilities, the mayor's office for media and entertainment. So we're hoping to keep that going, keep that discussion going.
We're on Long Island.
Yeah,
As-
Able Ride.
We have Able Ride, which is
Yeah.
just as lovely. We had to go to an event and it took about 2 hours and we missed most of the event. And then by the time you get there, you're sweating like an animal.
Yeah.
You're nervous. You know you missed half of it and you're like, there's nothing you can do. It's really horrible. And there's no Ubers with accessibility on Long Island. You can't take Uber from Long Island to New York City, but you can get an Uber in New York City that's accessible and then take it out to Long Island. So if you hadn't switched career tracks, you might not have ever created, this agency might never have been created by anyone.
There are casting directors and managers that do handle disabled talent for sure. I believe Zoe is one of maybe 2 accessibility coordinators that has a disability. There is another. There may be more, but we do know of Zoe and another. I always tell my team, for us, it's also being advocates, and really that's part of our role as well. I'm working with a casting director right now in LA that has asked us to assist with filling a couple of roles, and it's also saying, okay, this specific role with this specific disability because you want authentic casting, but can we submit someone that's in a wheelchair? Is that also, we do ask those questions. We do say, okay, we know you want this, but we have someone that can fit that role, but they're not mobile. So we would like to send them your way. Going that extra step and saying, can you take this actor? Can you work with this actor? Because what would be the holdup to not have them in this role? And honestly, productions have been amazing. I have to say that. I'm continuously impressed with the people that we work with, the people that we deal with, and their willingness to go and above and beyond and make the accommodations. I do think my work in HR and the fact that I have that background, I'm very sensitive to an actor may come our way that has a mental health situation, and making those accommodations without divulging the exact specifics. I think that's really important. I think it's really important to make sure that every individual feels that we're protecting them as much as we can. We have had situations where we don't actually tell the production this is it. It may be obvious to them. The actor may tell them when they get there, But unless we have full clearance from that actor, we will make those accommodations without divulging exactly what that situation is. And especially in the mental health space, I think that's really important. And we very often in that space, we work in that space quite a bit. We also know how that can affect someone, especially if you have anxiety or depression, and I'm not getting back to you, telling you what's happening next. That's so frustrating. So we take that into account as well. There are several actors that have my cell phone. They know they can contact me, they can text me, they can text the team. Thank goodness for an amazing team that I have that is always happy to say, I can speak with that person. I can talk to them tonight. They're only available to talk at this time. I'm happy to do it. And that's, I think, the above and beyond that we need to always keep in mind and do. I can't imagine the feeling of you're going for a role and you have shared with us whatever your mental health situation may be, and then I don't get back to you to tell you, now the production's on hold, or now we're waiting another week, or now you didn't get the role, or now they want this. If I'm not sharing and communicating with you, it's got to be so frustrating. And so we do that as much as possible. We definitely do that. We tell people when they didn't get the role why. I go back, and it's just something that I feel very strongly about. Answer every email, get back to people. So luckily we're small enough that we can do that. So I hope that's always the case, though.
Is there ever a role that they're not looking for anybody in particular, where they're disabled or non-disabled, and they choose maybe the easier route that'll be easier for them production wise? And you say, I know the role could have gone to one of my clients and it didn't.
It does happen. It definitely does. We have been fortunate that it hasn't happened to us directly. We came close once where there was a concern because an actor wasn't mobile, but we knew that this person was the best for the role. So we felt very strongly that this person would be the best person for the role. And Zoe felt strongly that she could be the accessibility coordinator and make it work for the actor and for the production. But it's always these negotiations. So we did present other actors, we sent other self tapes, but we did say, if you look at the self tape, you're going to see that this actor, and in our opinion, we feel that she's the best one, and we feel that despite the lack of full mobility, that we can work with this actor. And they came back, and that's who they picked. It was a win. You just have to say it and you have to present it. I have turned work away. There's no doubt if I start speaking with a production, it hasn't happened a lot, but I have turned work away if I feel that the production is not going to be not just accessible, but welcoming to any actor. So I just take a stand on that.
I don't know if you see a trend going more towards people being more accepting to have actors of all abilities. Have you seen a trend upwards, meaning people are more accepting and the world is becoming a more friendly, accepting universe?
Yes, I have. It's promising. It is. I believe the intent is there. The delivery is not always there. The intent is there for sure. The hope is there, but I believe that the delivery is sometimes falls short. And that I think is, just a learning curve. I would like to have an actor who, is in a wheelchair. Let's take an easy one. But then you say, okay, how accessible is this set? How accessible is someone able to get to the craft services or catering truck, in a wheelchair? Can they even see the menu? How accessible is it for someone who's legally blind? Not just on camera, but behind the scenes. There are significant improvements, but you really have to be self-advocating a lot. And I think when you have a disability and you're just starting off as an actor, that may be a big challenge.
I find, like with Perry, because we are together most of the time, because I act as her nurse also, we apologize for everything. And
Mm.
I think I said to Perry months ago, I'm tired of apologizing. saying, "I'm sorry, but can we have this and this? I'm sorry, but we can't reach that." It gets to the point where why am I apologizing all the time when this should be an inherent thing that Perry should expect from the world? I'm trying not to apologize so much, but then you kind of feel like you have to. I don't want to have to apologize.
I 100% understand that. And Zoe has said that she does some comedy. She has said that, and I cannot count the times that this has happened. She is with her white cane, and I'm with her, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this person is walking right into you. And Zoe apologizes when I can tell this person is sighted because they're looking at their phone, and she apologizes. And I apologize. And I know I can tell that you know exactly what I'm saying. How do we stop that? She gets off of an elevator and someone's standing right in front, which you shouldn't do. Zoe apologizes. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Well, they shouldn't have been standing in front of the elevator. It is definitely something that you feel obligated to be the one, but you're not the inconvenience. You're not the one that made the mistake. You're not the one on your phone that didn't see that you were coming, and you can't swerve out of the way.
So, what are your thoughts on having more people with disabilities represented in the media? Because sometimes able bodied people are representing people with disabilities.
I feel that if someone with the disability can play that role, they should definitely play that role. There's no doubt if they have the capability and it's written for someone, that the role should go to someone with the disability for sure. I think Coda is a good example of how different would that film have been if it wasn't actors that are hearing impaired in the roles. You wouldn't have had the same beautiful film that occurred had it been actors that are not in the deaf community. I know where Hollywood comes from, where the thinking is, well, in order to sell this film, we need a big name, and the big name doesn't have that disability. So we really have to switch that narrative and work on that narrative and give the opportunities to the actors that are disabled to really show themselves and be there and be in front of the camera and be visible. And it's becoming more and more. And I think the only way to really stop it is to not go see a film that doesn't honor that and respect that and make that happen.
How did the writer's strike affect you?
I started during the pandemic, which wasn't on purpose for sure. It happened at the same time. I was fortunate enough to have a mentor who helped through SCORE, through the Retired Executives Organization. I had reached out to them because they have mentorship programs. And so I had this amazing mentor who guided me and said, why don't you look at during this time, looking at industrials and video games and so forth. So, so that's what I did. And it was a real win because it really gave us the opportunity to do casting and get going and forge those relationships and continue those relationships and not just rely on film and TV. Those relationships continued during the writer's strike for me. So we still had work coming in. We've worked on student films, which has been a win as well, that always have disabled casting. Those are our passion projects that we do, and we like to do those, and we're happy to do that, to just do it for the credit and to work with a young filmmaker that's making a name for themselves. I think that's really important to do.
Would you say like a great part of your job is that you can work with your daughter? And did you ever think you were going to be able to work with her?
That is the best part of my job, is being able to work with my daughter and to see her so happy in what she is doing. And as an accessibility coordinator in particular, she loves the work. She just enjoys it so much and is good at it. She has the advantage of having been sighted and working in the film industry. So she understands the pace and she understands how it has to be seamless. And so she brings that to the table. I think she loves more than anything else being with the actors and being a guide to them about, listen, productions, they appreciate that you're here today, but they have to run on a, time schedule, and everything has to run on time. So it's my job to make that happen. So I need to know every single accommodation that you would need. I need to work with locations. If there are steps that are uneven and you need to go up steps and it's going to be a challenge, I need to know that. I need to make sure that everything is covered so they don't come back and say, oh wow, it really slowed things down. Anything that would be of concern to any actor.
Even just hearing about your daughter and what your daughter has done, she seems like a soul just like Perry.
Very much so, that I'm not giving up, and literally nobody is getting in my way, even if they're on their phone.
Right.
They're not getting in my way. And she hasn't losing most of her sight. She has no sight in one eye and 40% in the other. Owning my own business, I tell my team all the time, what I've learned in HR has been wonderful in being able to run my own business, because I knew what to do and what not to do, what worked and what didn't. And I'm very much a non-hierarchical leader, so the decisions are always team decisions, but at the same time, you have to just be on it and just be on top of it, because in your case and in my case, our names are on it. So, it's so important that whatever goes out, we're aware of and we're a part of, even when you delegate, which I don't mind doing it all. I'm happy to do it, but to always make sure that you know what's going on. I've seen so many companies where there are boards and there are committees, and then leaders lose sight of what's going on, and then they're like, what happened? How did this happen? And you never want that to happen.
Perry's like totally in agreement with you. He always says, my name is on it. We're not doing it. It's like, okay, I'm her mom, but she's my boss.
Yeah.
I don't get paid for it, but she's still my boss.
I'm very careful.
Yeah, she's very careful, very conservative.
Yeah.
And I have to listen to her. It's very hard for me.
Is there anything else in the media world that I want to see represented?
Yeah.
As far as disabilities, I know Zoe feels the same way, so I can speak for her on this because she has spoken about it as well. More opportunities for just any role for someone with a disability, not just a role because you have a disability,
Right.
and you should be in that role. So for sure, if you are able, Zoe, for instance, could definitely, just doesn't always have to play a role for someone that's legally blind. So she could play any role. We did a little, in-house commercial. It was more of like a test for us, that we were like, well, we want to do this footage, and we hired actors and so forth. And we hired them to be in our little in-house commercial that we were like, we'll use this footage maybe on YouTube at some point and do different things with it when we need it. Let's just do it as a team. Zoe said, I want to direct it. And I said, okay. She'd studied enough and she's done enough in film. So she did direct it. So there's a perfect opportunity of someone with 40% vision in one eye that could direct days and days of commercial footage. And she did it. And because she was sitting down and had a monitor very close to her, some of the actors didn't realize that she was visually impaired until she got up to use the restroom. And they had no idea and it wasn't important that they know, because she was there to direct them. That was the job. So that's what we'd like to see more and more.